It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Mike Gustafson and Clint Scott. I'm Aaron Dickens. We're joining you today until some period. I don't know when exactly. We'll find out. Conflicting information. We will have Game 1 of the NLCS for you tonight here on Double T 97.3. The Padres and the Philadelphia Phillies. That coverage will begin at 6:30 on Double T 97.3. The deciding Game 5 of the ALDS is about to get underway. We're not carrying that game. I don't know why, but we will keep you posted on the game as it happens. You and I will be tuned in.
It has been a meteorologically challenged series. This has been fraught with weather.
First time in MLB history that you have a deciding division series game and Game 1 of a championship series. I believe I read that.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. And of course, there's usually a stagger by a day,
right,
just to get the TV deal lined up. So fortunately for Major League Baseball, this AL was on the later stagger. So that part worked out well, thank goodness, I guess. But the winner of this hopping on a plane to Houston to play your boys tomorrow.
Yeah, 27 hours from now.
Yeah, that's that's not unheard of in Major League Baseball, but the winner of this one is definitely not going to have pitching set or whatever. On the other hand, there's a chance that 3 of the 4 teams that did have a bye and did get to set their pitching will be at home for the CS. So, really, really amazing turn of events in the NLDS as the Phillies and Padres grabbed that thing by the horns, didn't they?
Love to get your thoughts and comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at doublet973.com. All guests appear via the Benchmark hotline. What did you make of Josh? Because you weren't here yesterday. What did you make of Josh Naylor's home run celebration in Game 4 when he hit that dinger off of Garrett Cole?
Well, actually, I didn't see that. The one I'm thinking of is and we're not talking about the bat slam. No, that was the Phillies.
No. So, okay.
The Phillies, yeah.
I'll bring this up so you can watch
that's
it.
Okay, sure. The Phillies bat slam, I thought it was really cool. And I'm probably going back to maybe over the weekend. But when he did that bat slam, I thought, I've never seen that. Most of the time you see a flip. This was like he just spiked. And I thought, well, that's just my reaction to it, and went over to Frank Thomas and those guys in that post game, and those guys, Hall of Fame careers, long-time players, been around the game 30, 35 years. Frank Thomas and I are pretty close to the same age. Frank Thomas was like, dude, that was cool. All right, let's see our man here.
I am, I'm
viewing it in real time.
Very curious to get your reaction to this.
Right. So that's our man. Oh, goodness. Dang.
He just rounded second base. Doing the rock-a-bye baby deal. Some colorful language.
Yep, and glaring at the mound.
Yeah.
Wow. Ooh, I want to know some backstory.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting, and we touched on this a little bit yesterday, is that, aside from any kind of self-policing that occurs in this game,
right?
Which, that would be kind of odd unless it's out of hand, because you don't want to give them an advantage just to kind of pay them back. But outside of the players policing themselves, there's really no penalty for that. Whereas you throw a horns down when you're playing Texas, and that's 15 yards right, by the officials.
Right.
And so it's just kind of funny how baseball gets this, rap for being stodgy and old-fashioned and all this stuff, and yet you've got guys doing Rockabye Baby as they round the bases on a home run during a playoff game, and it's just nothing.
With eye contact.
Yeah, and colorful language.
Hey, he'll get abused here at Yankee Stadium today.
Sure. Well, and probably in future trips too.
Yeah, and that I was going to say sometimes that can carry over even into spring training, but that one will probably get some play next year in the regular season because you've got a Florida and a Arizona spring training deal. So this one here will rise above that. That this won't just be, hey, doink him on March 27th in a game that nobody's watching, and we'll even up the deal. This one here will have some but you're exactly right. That can't carry over you can't hit him with the leadoff man in the third inning in a scoreless game with the season hanging on the line. But that's that'll be fun. And I'm telling you, I don't want to say I'm banging on that drum, but gently tapping the drum for where Rangers and Astros, that right there, away from that becoming the heated rivalry that I'm wanting, just as a guy that loves the game. Let me tell you about the game. Let me tell you about this though. So we're in a bar by Wrigley Field Saturday night. My wife and I, we'd already had a few at one place, and we're kind of walk around. This place is a small little bar, and we happened to walk in during the ninth inning of Game 4 of this series. Indians, Yankees, which, as you know, 2-run rally. I mean, we walk in at game time, and the dude hits the little jam shot bloopy single that just moves everybody up 90 feet, and the bar kind of goes nuts. And it's 20 guys, 18 guys, and my wife and another lady, I think. And they're your age, a little bit, probably your age to my age. Okay. There might have been a couple of dudes.
Decent spread.
Yeah, it really is, but kind of mid-30s, mid-50s, and maybe a couple younger guys. And so I'm like, man, these dudes are like, was this a Cleveland party? It was just, it could have been one of three things: New York haters, Cleveland lovers, or degenerate gamblers, all of which is fine. But I pull out my phone, and I'm start filming it because it's 2 strikes, 2 outs, whatever. And sure enough, I get the hit, and the dudes are like high-fiving each other around the bar. It was so cool. I mean, it was a blast. I've already sent it to a bunch of my buddies going, this is awesome. And again, I don't know who the friends were. I could see a little group up here or whatever. Dudes high-fiving, the bartenders running around. Yeah, and they're all high-fiving. I'm thinking, again, Cleveland guys? Are they New York haters? I don't know.
Cleveland money line?
Truly a stone's throw, literally a stone's throw to Wrigley Field.
Oh, wow.
Across the street. And I was just like, okay, that was the most fun I've had, just watching this deal. And so I'm all in, and I'm curious what that scene is like. I wish I had the little bar cam over there to see if they're the same dudes are in there locked in today. Again, they might just be degenerate gamblers. God bless them if they are, but it was fun. It was a fun scene.
Guardians have their they let off with a single, but since then, 2 straight pop-ups. Now 2 outs. Yeah, Saturday, my internet went down. And so, wife and I just went to go see a movie because it's like we can't watch TV.
Sure.
On our phones, but we can't watch it together. Anyway, so the movie starts at in the top of the 9th of that Astros game.
Oh.
And I'm like sitting there kind of followed on the phone, like watching it as the previews are going or whatever. And then I'll be darned if it's not still going on when the movie's over.
Nice, yeah.
More Tech Talk next.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hey, it's The Juice on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Today's headlines brought to you by our good friends at Specs Wine, Spirits, and Finer Foods. 2 convenient locations here in town. 4th Street and the West Loop behind the Whataburger. Also, Slide Road and 69th Street. And if you can't get out and about today, you can always go to specsonline.com as well. Now the headlines. The Texas Tech soccer program, after going 2-0 over the weekend with wins over Kansas State and Kansas on the road, picked up a pair of conference honors. Ashley Williams and Elise Anderson earned Big 12 Offensive and Defensive Player of the Week nods today. That was announced this morning. Williams had a trio of goals over the weekend, including the game winner in both contests. Anderson, meanwhile, led a Tech defensive effort that allowed just one goal on the weekend. In fact, K-State and Kansas combined for just 5 second-half shots in those two matches. The Tech soccer team will be back in action against Baylor on Thursday at the John Walker Soccer Complex Senior Night. Tech will honor Sierra Jones and Charlotte Teeter. Kickoff set for 7 p.m.
The TCU soccer RPI 12, I talked about this last week. Texas at 27, OSU at 37, and Tech at 61. So it has improved by virtue of those two wins. Probably road wins, probably score a little bit more as they do in basketball and certainly in baseball. But that would tell me that this isn't going to be the Big 12 is not going to be a league that sends a bunch of teams to the dance. I hate to say that, but hopefully...
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, hopefully the soccer girls are getting primed and ready to win the Big 12 tournament.
The NFL will expand to Black Friday beginning next season. The league announced today that Amazon Prime Video will stream a game on the day after Thanksgiving that will kick off at 2 o'clock Central Time, November 23rd, 2023. Teams will be announced in May, when the regular season schedule is expected to be released. Prime Video is in its first season as the exclusive carrier of Thursday Night Football and will expand to 16 games next season. Interesting on multiple levels, right? Because, Black Friday has typically been a day where you've had some college football, right? Maybe Ole Miss, Mississippi State, the Egg Bowl, or Iowa, Nebraska, something like that. And now here the NFL kind of further encroaching on some college football territory. It's also interesting because, and I don't know that this is just like a game changer, but one of the kind of hallmarks of Black Friday is folks getting out and about, going to brick and mortar stores, right? Going to retailers. And if, the NFL has a game on Prime Video, just stay home and watch it and order all your junk on Prime.
Well, yeah, and you think about it, we're talking about Amazon, who is probably the biggest encroacher in the go out and shop frontier, that they would be the ones going, this is even more incentive.
Hey, just stay home.
Don't fight traffic. We got you on both fronts.
Have you guys seen those crowds? You really want to be out in that? Am I right?
Hey, here's a football game.
I worked Black Friday one year in college when I was working at Best Buy.
Mm-hmm. Here or back home?
Yeah, I think it was 2000. I want to say it was 2002.
Okay,
because it was when the Best Buy was over. Mm-hmm. It was like 3 locations ago.
Yeah. Oh,
it was the one where like the Bed Bath and Beyond is right now. Like Slide in the South Loop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that was a miserable experience, let me tell you.
Did you have to be there at 4 a.m. or anything?
Bright and early.
Did you really?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Yeah. But I guess the good thing about it is that since it was so crowded, and there was so much going on, I was able to just kind of like get lost in the crowd, and I didn't really do anything.
You didn't have to admit that part right there.
I don't mind sharing. South Florida starting quarterback Gary Bohannon will undergo season-ending surgery for a right shoulder injury. The Baylor transfer sustained the injury to his throwing shoulder on an 8-yard run in the second quarter of Saturday's loss to Tulane. So a bad season gets worse for the Bulls.
I'd love to know what feels like. A lot more quarterbacks getting hurt this year. Again, could be purely this prisoner of the moment type stuff, but I'd be curious to. That one could be easily looked up, but did he slide? Was it a called run? Was it a scramble? What was he just trying to do too much? Dude, you got the first down 3 yards ago slide.
Well, and they're just atrocious this year, too. So it's not like there was something substantial on the line. We'll have game 1 of the NLCS tonight. Our coverage will begin for you at 6:30 on Double T 97.3. The Phillies and the Padres. First pitch from Petco Park in San Diego, California, 7:03 p.m. Television coverage provided by FS1. Yu Darvish on the mound tonight for the Padres. You too can join the program. We'd love to hear from you today. Let us know what you think on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at doublet973.com. You can also weigh in through the Double T 97.3 mobile app presented by Happy State Bank. And hey, have you heard of podcasts? We have those. Go to doublet973.com or 107thescore.com, and also wherever you find your podcasts. And you can listen to our program, End of the Bench, Morning Drive, The Bottom Line, the Ask Level podcast, all of those things in a condensed format to where you get the best bits of the show and, some of the fat is trimmed off, I guess. How about that? The Big 12 Basketball Media Day event is going on right now. I think the women are going today. Brett Yormark, commissioner of the Big 12, was made available to the media and didn't necessarily break new ground in terms of what we knew or had been reported, but this stuff came from his mouth versus an anonymous source in some kind of Sports Illustrated report or CBS Sports. And he said, hey, playing 9 conference games in football, will not be divisions, right? And Oklahoma and Texas will be here for the next 2 seasons. So they will play in the Big 12 2023, 2024.
Yeah, not sure how groundbreaking the other part was, but he struck a very optimistic tone about the dollar values, media rights, and things like that. But Klyavkov did that too, and so I don't know that anybody's going to go out there and go, I don't know, or it's really a struggle. And they're all going to strike an optimistic tone, but so far so good with all that, I would think. Yeah, I would also think that any Texas OU movement to the SEC would come at this point with really high leverage sort of trade or whatever, because it just feels like it's getting late. SEC saying not gonna, we're moving on with that, and so if ESPN's gonna go orchestrate something, it'll be big.
Right,
it would be big and earth shaking because it would probably affect a lot of program, a lot of 2 conferences and a lot of schools and a lot of planning.
And you wonder too, as Yormark and the Big 12 are in discussions with ESPN and Fox about maybe an early extension, an early kind of new deal, media rights wise. If you have Oklahoma and Texas in there for 2023, 2024, how does that affect the value of that deal, and does that kind of carry over?
Yeah,
true, past their departure? So I have no idea how any of that stuff works, but still very interesting, and we're getting just closer and closer, it seems, to the schedule being revealed for next football season.
I bet we'd have by Thanksgiving. I mean,
oh, sure, I would hope so. I'll be so mad if we don't. This is Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Mike Gustafson and Clint Scott. I'm Aaron Dickens. Not great. If you were a fan of the Cleveland Guardians, we're pulling for them to win this ALDS as their starting pitcher lasted a third of an inning. It's not ideal. Not ideal. The Yankees lead now 3-0 with one out in the bottom of the first. Runner on first. Hey, if you want to go to the football game on Saturday, Texas Tech and West Virginia, we have tickets to give away today. In fact, we have 12. And we will be giving them away in sets of 4. And in order to win 4 tickets right now, call the Benchmark hotline, 806-771-0973, and say something nice to Clint about me. Benchmark hotline, 806-771-0973. 4 tickets for free for Texas Tech's football game this Saturday against West Virginia. We will give away more tickets throughout the program. We get this on the Yates Flooring Center chat line from Bobby Hot Dogs. 80, what department did you work in at Best Buy? I picture you working in the computer section and making passive-aggressive comments to customers that might not be as technologically savvy as you. I did work in the computer service department. So it was the predecessor to the Geek Squad. So I had a black polo and not a blue polo. Big deal. So I got to sit in kind of a back office and just kind of fart around for most of my shift.
Put a little antivirus on a computer.
Yeah, pretty much. And almost every, like, whatever the problem is, we'll just wipe your computer and start over fresh. It's fine.
Yeah, I was working in the computer lab at Tech around that same time, and that was a very real solution. Unfortunately, a lot of times, just wiping it clean and getting a good image on there, starting over. But nobody ever wanted. Are you backed up? No. Oh, great.
At that location, and I think this was true when they moved to the new location on the Spur. Mm-hmm. So not the current location. When you would bring your computer in, we would plug it into these, display deals to where we could see it on our monitor, like your computer or whatever. Then also your desktop would show up on a TV screen that's showing out so that you could see what we're doing as well, which is normally fine. But and this is a true story. This lady came in and she had some, I don't know if they were self-portraits or if she had someone else take them.
Oh, wow.
But they were
they prominently displayed?
On the desktop. Like, it wasn't like we went hunting for them.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
it was
were
just like
buried in a folder.
It's just like, bam, that's some naked skin right there. Anyways.
Did she react and like, hey, take those down? Or
Well, she didn't say anything. I think she was pretty embarrassed, but I didn't have much to be embarrassed about, let me tell you. We've given away the tickets. What was the compliment?
That you have good stories from Best Buy.
I just heard the compliment start going, and I tuned the rest of it out.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Shelly, though. She won the
Oh,
ticket.
hey, that's awesome. Yeah, frequent texter Shelly.
Called into the show and say, Aaron has the best Best Buy story.
So I
think she said something about like obnoxious or snotty or something like that.
Snotty?
That's
wow.
Snotty. Wow.
That doesn't sound like something that Shelly would say.
Hey, I'm just relaying the message,
Shelly's
man.
far too nice.
Yeah.
This from Bullfighter. How dare you hang up on me, Clint?
I'm skimming through the calls, man. Sorry.
This on the chat line.
Bullfighter just did the do you know who I am?
Somebody asked this at the start of the show. Start, bench, trade the Tech quarterbacks.
Oh. Goodness.
Yeah, this isn't fair.
Yeah.
because we haven't seen him largely due to injury. But I mean, it would be trade Tyler Shuck, because I feel like if you don't really know enough to make a decision there, you know.
If we being Tech had one guy that you could trade for, or to maybe think about this, who's the guy that might end up playing, starting at, fill in the blank Power 5 and creating highlights on TV next year?
I think they're all capable.
I do too.
Yeah, I mean,
I do too.
And it would have to be like, if you're betting on it, just because of the the numbers or whatever, it would be one of the younger guys, because they're a more attractive investment, I think, from a transfer portal standpoint for another program, because they're clearly talented, they're clearly experienced.
Good.
And we can kind of keep them around for a couple, 3-4 years,
Sure. The kind of, late last week we talked about, we've got a pretty good DB room right now, defensive backs, and a lot of those dudes were portal guys, but portal guys 2 and 3 years ago, maybe more, that really almost assimilate into the program in a way that you forget that they weren't out of high school.
Sure.
He's been here so long. Oh yeah, that's right. He was a portal guy after a year or two. But yeah, that's it's a very real thing that all three of these. Well, yeah, it's a very real thing that all three of these guys are eligible to return next year. Now, there's some thought that Shuck, engaged to be married, working on his master's degree, if any of them would be ready to hang. He'd been hurt 2 years in a row, but what would have to take place for him to go, nope, unfinished business, I want to come back next year, have all three of them back? Who knows?
Because
I'd be a little surprised, but
this probably will shock you, Gus, but I was never a great athlete.
What?
I know, and so,
but you worked at Best Buy.
This is purely me guessing, right? Or this is purely conjecture. But I would sure think that if you were a high level athlete, and certainly Tyler Shuck is that, right? You don't become a starting quarterback at 2 different Power 5 programs by accident. If you're a high ability, high level athlete, that would seem to be a really kind of, I don't know, crummy way to kind of hang it up, because it's not really on your terms.
Right.
It's not really something that you did. It's not like you played and just stunk. You just got hurt, right? And so you and I talked before the season about, hey, what does the scenario look like to where Shuck comes back? And we couldn't really think of one, because if the Red Raiders are awesome, then you would think that he would kind of go off to play in the NFL potentially, apply his trade there. And if the Red Raiders were terrible, then you would think that Tech would want to move on because, hey, let's turn the page here,
lost
et cetera.
his job or something, sure.
But I don't know that you and I thought that this was kind of a possibility again.
Incomplete.
And yet here we are. So I guess it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's back next year.
Yeah, I agree. And how much clarity can there be in these next 6 games? To the extent that he and the others, but especially he, would say unfinished business as opposed to I'm ready to get out of here. And who knows how this thing's going to play out. I mean, the only real reporting we're getting out of there right now is that yesterday, I guess, he wasn't taking the same reps as the other guys.
Right.
Barron was getting more
practicing, not cleared yet.
Right.
But if he's cleared, then he'll play. We just don't know under what,
Yeah. Seems like it's more likely for the Baylor game as far as Shuck's availability goes, but I would also be fine with. I don't know that it rises to the Cliff Kingsbury level of a cloak and dagger, but there's nothing wrong with West Virginia preparing for all three.
The Mountaineers' defense is not very good. It's actually quite bad. It's probably not Oklahoma level bad, but it's bad, right? And so you would like to think that Tech's offense will have some success this weekend. Now, the Mountaineers' offense is pretty good too, so it might be a little bit of a shootout. Who knows? As I said yesterday, this game terrifies me. But if Morton starts and you win that game Saturday and he plays well, how do you
turn away from that?
That's going to be tricky.
Yeah, and that I'm with you.
More Tech Talk next.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Alongside Mike Gustafson and Clint Scott, I'm Aaron Dickens. We're joining you until 6:30 today. We'll have coverage of the NLCS beginning at that time. Phillies and Padres. Love to get your thoughts and comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line at Double T 97.3.com. How do you feel about the game Saturday, Texas Tech and West Virginia? I'm terrified of that game.
Well, yeah, it's sort of. I sort of feel like the way I did leading into, and this is just the pure emotional side of it. I'm not playing out the game in the same fashion, but just the swing game nature of it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, just if we're thinking about the calculus to a 6 or the math to get to a 6 or 7 win season, it's hard to. Well, it's not impossible to get there without this game this weekend, but it feels like one of the more winnable games left on the schedule. And think about it this way: Tech won first 2 ball games, lost 3 of the last 4. West Virginia lost 3 of their first 4, and then won their last 2 ball games. And so, I don't know how much of that psyche is going to play into this game because both teams are coming off of somewhat extended breaks. For West Virginia, it'll be a 9-day break, and for Tech, it'll be a 14-day break.
And you say that you've lost 3 or 4, which
and there's some
have.
schedule. There's a lot of schedule.
Right, you have lost 3 or 4, but it doesn't feel like you've lost 3 of 4. If
that
makes sense.
Yeah, I agree, and not like played terribly in 3 or 4. Absolutely not. And so that again, a lot of that is the function of scheduling and just the breaks of the schedule or whatever. I don't think. I mean, sometimes if you were talking about and oftentimes if you're talking about a team losing 3 or 4, ooh, they beat up, they're losing their confidence, whatever. I would be surprised if that's the case for this team, Tech. Because they did some things better against OSU than they've done maybe all year.
I agree.
Definitely the best start of a game. Certainly the best start of a road game of those 3 road games. And so, I'm nervous about it just because I don't want to be sitting in here next week, having to circle some of these other games. Ames is going to be tough. We've talked about that, mid-November and up there. Who knows what you'd get there, just weather-wise and everything. I just don't want to have to look at one of those games and go, hey, I got to win that one. I'd be elated with winning out at home and taking my chances with one of these last 2 road games. 7-8 wins, be doing backflips out here.
Yeah, can you do a backflip?
No, can't. Yeah, me neither. Not. I'd do something that doesn't hurt me.
Yeah, I'd do an arm break. This isn't. I don't think that this game will define your season, right? But I think, to kind of your point, this game will swing your season. All right, this is one of those games that will determine, hey, are you bowling or are you not bowling? I don't know that anybody 5 years from now is going to be looking back at this game Saturday the way that we will at the Texas game or maybe even the Houston game. But boy, yeah, if you want to get to 6 wins or more, you got to have this one. And just the paradigm shift in going from this kind of underdog, plucky, hey, we got, our quarterback's hurt, we're playing a ranked team on the road, or a Texas team that has owned the series historically, whatever. We're kind of up against it. We're, us versus the world, et cetera. And now you flip it, right? Now you're favored, no, only by 4, 5, or 6, not by some, insane amount, but still you're expected to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
How does that team at Sixth University handle that kind of situation, that scenario? Because I think they've handled the other one pretty well, right? Even though the wins have not come, you're 3-3. You've played well. You haven't no-showed, and so I'm curious to kind of see how they respond. Because the Mountaineers, they've got some momentum. They're coming off of a nice win. Yeah. Their backs are against the wall. I don't think that they feel like they've played well, and they're in year 4 or 5 under Neil Brown. So there's some urgency there. I don't think they're just going to roll over, as nice as that would be. So, yeah, this game terrifies me.
I think they'd be very careful, and you said this earlier, but they'd be comfortable in a shootout. They've played a couple of those. And that's not much of a revelation now. But I think a lot of these teams these days are comfortable in shootouts. There's more of that now than ever, probably across all of college football. But I guess the best part of the West Virginia defense, as you said, that group doesn't scare us, but it's probably the defensive line. It feels like we've said that like every week. But their best player is probably on that defensive line. Help me with the name, because he's been there.
Sills?
I should know that, because he's one of those guys. And he's been there since like 2013. Didn't he play against Mahomes? Not literally, but feels like he's been there forever. But It's because he's been an impact guy forever, right?
Yeah, Dante Stills. They are second only to Oklahoma in terms of worst defenses in the conference in terms of points allowed per conference game. They're giving up 44.3 points per conference game. Now, Texas Tech is right in front of them, 37, so it's not like Tech is significantly better.
And neither of those teams offensively are doing much to help their defense. And all I mean by that is just, both, a lot of tempo, a lot of plays. They're not getting in the huddle and snapping it with 1 second left on the clock. Neither of these teams. And so both defenses probably on the field a lot, but most certainly that's the case with West Virginia. And we'll get to see your boy Daniels. He was really a conversation point coming into the season. Just his story, the backstory there, where all he's played, and the expectations for him. And there's been points where I've had friends watching their games going, man, he's terrible, and then man, he lightened it up. Just a little bit of everything from him. And of course that's two Red Raiders in charge of that. The team, and B, the defense, and or guys with ties here, guys with ties to offensive success here. Certainly Neil Brown is offensive coordinator, and Harrell is a great quarterback.
I think the good thing about Daniels is, from a Tech perspective, he's not really known as a runner. Whereas Adrian Martinez killed you.
Mm-hmm.
We all know, on the ground. And Spencer Sanders could keep you very honest there too. That's not JT Daniels' game. He's negative on the year in terms of rushing yards. That's largely sacks, obviously, but he's just not going to. No, I'm going to say all this, and he's going to peel off a 65-yard touchdown run on Saturday. But you shouldn't have to worry about that in a big way.
But not a lot of called runs.
Right.
Yeah, I got you.
More Tech Talk next. So,
it's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3.
Did you get a chance to watch much Big 12 football over the weekend? I didn't really mean you were out of town.
Yeah. No, I didn't, because we were in the plane, and then we did go settle. We were sort of settled around the time of the second half of the Bama Tennessee game, but that was about it.
Mm-hmm. A pretty exciting weekend in the Big 12, right? Because even on Thursday night, you and I talked about this on Thursday, the 3-point win for the Mountaineers over Baylor, 43-40. Oklahoma State TCU 43-40, same score, and double overtime.
Did see the end of that. Didn't get to see the down the stretch of that game, and because where we were had both games on TV. And I actually thought about some of our sports media conversations because think, all right, Chicago, certainly Big Ten country, and they had the Big Ten game on. I'm trying to think of what it would have been. This would have been 5-ish, 5:30-ish. But they had Bama, Tennessee on here, but none of them were. And there was one of the MLB games was on, and so and a Big 12 game. And I was just thinking about, in the way TV metrics or eyeballs, how all that stuff's measured, because, I feel like, in the state of Texas, we might have been, 6 of the 8 TVs are on the Bama Tennessee game or something. Whereas this was downtown Chicago, they were all spread out on all the games with the MLB playoff thing in there. And I just remember thinking about some of our conversations. Like I've always been curious about what the metrics are for how much does it matter? And this in the perfect scenario there, but how many eyeballs are achieved by being the only game on. You talked about earlier, sometimes a Wednesday night college football game.
Sure.
And there's literally maybe maybe your regional NBA or a hockey game or something at this time of year, and then a MAC Wednesday night game. What are the TV ratings for that? Well, there's how many bars? Like how many bars and restaurants that have the game on, that just set it on ESPN and call it a night, right? Mm-hmm. But
and you're kind of a captive audience because you're eating chicken wings or pizza or whatever.
And you want some kind of live sports on there. And if there's a couple of Mavericks game, Ball State versus Akron. All right, sign me up. How much is achieved? And here I'll say this: how much is achieved? How much just falls to ESPN because, hey, it's ESPN, and every bartender in America is like, get ESPN on. So there's some, as opposed to, hey, did you try
hunting for the game? Yeah.
Yeah. Did you try FS1? How many just leave that TV on FS1 and leave that TV on ESPN? It feels like it's always just leave that TV on ESPN. Occasionally there will be even a leave that TV on NFL Network, because no matter what's going on, Wednesday afternoon at 1:00, they'll be showing the Dolphins-Browns game or whatever.
Did you recall seeing many college jerseys, hats, shirts?
I did. Good that you asked, because that was the other thing I was going to. We got to remember this,
because we had that conversation when I went to LA.
Yeah. So we got down there about 2:00 downtown, and by the time the first shirts I noticed were on some dudes, my son's age, mid-20s, late 20s, which I would have chalked up as being recent grads. There was 3 of them walking. 2 of them had Michigan shirts on. I can't remember. The third dude was either logoless or maybe he was Michigan too, but I noticed. Well, they were the 11:00 game. And so I was like, well, these 3 dudes could have met some friends at a bar or whatever, and they're walking someplace. So there's a little bit of logic to that. About 5:30, in fact, leaving the other place that we were talking about, that we were sort of bouncing around, watching in the place where they had all the games on, was when I passed the lady she was probably closer to your age, not quite my age, wearing the Cornell sweatshirt. And I was like, oh, here we go. I was trying to get my phone up to shoot a picture of it to send to you, and I just had to text you a description. Like Dana's going, hey, would you hurry up? Like, hang on, I've got to send this text because I didn't get the picture of that lady right there, that girl right there. And it would just fire up your Dartmouth, Cornell, fake Ivy thing, whatever. But and most of when I'm in Chicago, most of the time it's in the summer. You're not wise to go up there in January. But sometimes if we, it's either the Cubs White Sox game or We've even gone to a Blackhawks game, a couple times. And so that all of that logo, all of those sports logos. But this was, I thought, this is a little bit cleaner slate because we're looking for college jerseys.
And Michigan's really good, right? I mean, they're ranked, they're undefeated. So you would think this would kind of be peak season for all the Michigan fans to kind of come out and start wearing the colors.
Yep, no doubt. And not a ton of logos. Did go in the Michigan Avenue Under Armour store yesterday, and over in the corner they had a little display, and there was probably 2 to 3 racks of Northwestern stuff. And then if there was 2 to 3 here, it's probably 4 to 5 Notre Dame, and they were kind of near each other over in that corner. Game wear stuff, kind of classy looking Under Armour stuff. But it was I still not inundated with pro shirts, and that
the way that you would like if you were in Dallas,
right?
Or I'd like to think
Atlanta, I would think, yeah, and just
man. The Atlanta airport on like a Sunday.
Oh yeah,
during football season, I'm guessing it's just wall to wall,
right?
Just SEC fans connecting flights, etc.
Yeah, and some and last night we were on the flight in and saw a couple of Eagles hats. Of course, we were connecting through Chicago, and so anyway, but yeah, there was some of that in airports, but it wasn't a crazy amount.
You've been listening to the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3. Check out Double T973.com for more from Lubbock Sports Station.